92.5, the New Orleans Talk Network. Our listeners are as important as our guests. Join in on the conversation. 504-341-8255.
I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are listening and you are watching Church Without Walls. I am your host, Charles Stewart, co-host, Reverend Dr. Anthony Williams, and we have a very special guest in the studio this morning, Honorable Chef Joe Lopinto. We invite you to join us every Monday morning, 11 to 12 Central Standard Time. Many of our friends that watch us every Monday morning, we want to thank you. And we always start the show off by praying for different people, different ones that look at the show. They constantly, some of them is in the hospital. I know a couple of people that are sick. So, Reverend Williams, could you do a short prayer for those that are sick and shedding before we get into the show?
Most holy and everlasting Father, we ask you in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And his words were, whatsoever you ask of the Father in my name, I will grant it you. And so right now we petition you before you and your holy throne of angels, asking that you would look upon each and every one that may be having difficulties in their life right now this morning. Oh God, my Father, we ask that you would touch them and let them know that you're a God that sit high and look low. And there's nothing that you have not seen, nothing that you have not heard. Oh, we ask you, my Father, this evening, that you would touch those who are on their beds of affliction. Oh God, my Father, that you would let them know that there's a healing power that abides within them. If they have enough faith to believe it and achieve it, they can receive it. Oh God, my Father, touch them right now. In the name of Jesus, we ask this. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. William. The Bible tells us that we should always pray and we'll always be mindful of that. And we pray that God would continue to bless our chef and keep him and his family. And we ask everybody, all the listening audience, to pray for our chef and his family, that God keep him. And I know if he take care of God's business, and he gonna take care of the parish. He take care of the parish, and God gonna take care of him. So we're so happy to have him with us. And one more quick thing to do a shout out to Mrs. Wilder Watson, who's sick out in East Jefferson Hospital. We pray for a speedy recovery. And again, listen, audience, we thank you again for being with us, Church Without Walls. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you want to download us on the app, you can download us on www. New Orleans Talk Network. And we invite you to call us, 341-8255. But before we get any calls from anyone, we certainly want to thank our chef for accepting the invitation to come to be on the show with Church Without Walls. I asked him some time ago, a few weeks ago, and he accepted immediately and said that he would be with us every other month. And we're going to see how it goes, and we're certainly happy that he came on, so we're going to get to know our chef, and the community will get to know him in a special way. They not only can listen to him, they can look at his face, and everybody say a handsome chef.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, so we're so happy to have him with us today. And again, Dr. William, would you like to have something to say before we bring the shaft. We want the shaft to.
Well, I'd just like to say to the people who are viewing us this morning that you have a man who now is taking time out from his busy schedule to come and be on the shore, and you have an opportunity to ask him questions. And I'm more than sure that he'll be willing to answer those questions for you. So take an opportunity today. The number 504-341-8255. Again, that's 504-341-8255. You're invited to call in to that number, and someone will be listening for your call, and we'll try to direct your question to the sheriff today, and I'm more than sure that he'll be glad to try and answer them to the best of his ability.
Okay, thank you, Dr. William. And again, we thank our sheriff. He was elected, I think, March the 24th, huh?
I think that was the date.
March the 24th, and we so happy that he was elected number one. I want to say person sheriff. I'm so happy that you was elected sheriff because I thought that you was the most qualified. I thought that you had the energy that it takes to move our parish forward. So we're so happy that you won, and we happy that you're here. And Sheriff, we like to begin by asking you your plan for law enforcement for Jefferson, for Jefferson Parish, and program that is important to the people of Jefferson that they need to know. And if you want to, Sheriff, you can introduce yourself to those that may not know you yet. They should know you. But, I tell any guest that come on the show, act like you at Burger King. Burger King say have it your way. You can have it your way. Well, you don't have to hold back nothing. Like I said, Burger King, you hold it there, hold it, pick you, have to hold nothing. Just have it your way.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, my plans change every day from the sheriff's office. We talk about, what's the first thing you're going to do? It depends on what the day is. We live in a world of the sheriff's office that things change. My day may start off with a plan that I have a whole bunch of appointments, but it also may change with a radio call that messes up all my day. What do we do for the future? We're always constantly evaluating ourselves. I've been asked on numerous times during the campaign, trail, what do you do with the traffic division? Your traffic division, there's 20 people short. We don't have enough enforcement out there. Mm-hmm. People are driving around and they're crazy. I said, I get that. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I agree with them. But on the other standpoint, I also understand that I have a budget. I've got to look at the big picture. I didn't have 20 resource officers in schools 20 years ago that I have today. We didn't have a digital forensic unit that does all the cell phone search warrants 20 years ago that we have 3 people in it today. We didn't have all the analysts in our crime lab running all the DNA tests that we have today. So we've had to increase positions over the years because technology has evolved, and we've had to decrease them in other places. Doesn't mean that that's perfect. No, it doesn't. So you're constantly evaluating of where you should have personnel. Where do you need them? Where can you afford them? And what do you want to look like 5 years from now? Mm-hmm. I don't get the opportunity to just come in and automatically swipe things clean. I mean, I could if I want to, but that's not the way a professional runs an organization. Right. You do these things over 5-year periods. You look at it for the future. What do you want your budget to look like next year? What do you want your plan to look like 5 years from now? And then you hopefully move systematically to that ability. And that's what I look at. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's things that happen over a period of time.
Okay, Sheriff. A lot of time that people, when they see the sheriff, I think we spoke a few minutes ago about, they don't understand what the sheriff do. Jefferson Parish sheriff, I think, is unique. You need a position for the sheriff in Jefferson Parish. The reason why I'm saying that is because most parishes, the sheriff is just the sheriff. Jefferson Parish is entirely different. You wear many hats as the sheriff in Jefferson. I always said the sheriff in Jefferson Parish is one of the most powerful men in the whole state of Louisiana. I think your job just as important as the governor.
Yeah, and Jefferson Parish is unlike many of the sheriffs, but we have about 7 of us that are actually serve as the tax collector. We are not unusual to those larger sheriffs around the state. Jefferson Parish is the largest sheriff's department in the state of Louisiana and one of the largest in the entire country. But we are different than that small town sheriff that has a budget of, say $3-4 million and, works with 50 employees. Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office has a jail that has almost 400 employees, along with 1,000, inmates that are in that. We are the tax collector. We serve all the subpoenas and lawsuits throughout the parish around judicial division. We operate a fleet of over 1,000 vehicles that we have to, maintain. So we have a very large department that you've got to know the big picture. And, it's not about just showing up every day and answering the calls for service. We have a lot of other duties that most of the public doesn't even think about when they're thinking about the sheriff.
How do you go about prioritizing your work on a daily basis?
I make decisions. I can't say it's prioritizing. I know that there's not always a right and wrong answer. You have to make decisions, you have to live with those decisions, and you have to move on to the next problem. Because the problem will never go away until you make a decision on how you're going to solve it. Make that decision, move on to the next one, because the next one's waiting in line. Prioritizing really depends on what the need is.
What's on your desk?
The reality from our standpoint is those priorities change. Don't get me wrong. I can have a perfect laid out plan, and takes an officer involved shooting or a hurricane or whatever the case may be, and guess what? Something else took its priority. You just have to deal with those things as they come up and make the best that you can do with it.
So your decision basically make upon what come across your desk on an unseen time.
Yeah, the unseen times. Don't get me wrong. I have a schedule that was set, that's set every single day of where I need to be and what do I need to do for this week, next week, and the following. But as I said, those plans can change in this type of work.
That's what I meant by prioritizing. That when things come across your desk at that time, you have to attend to what need immediate attention at that time.
Yep.
So you wear many hats.
I do.
Okay. Would you tell us a little bit about the many hats that you wear?
Well, as sheriff, not only do I have the paperwork. People, what do we do about, whether it's a suspicious person? Look, I stopped a suspicious person this morning on the way to work. Was coming and there was a call for service, and I was close to the area and took care of that. Ended up stopping a stolen vehicle the other day. Just happened to be, it came out on one of our ALPR cameras, and I happened to be behind it with my son in the car. Okay. So I ended up, was in the right place at the right time. So I enjoyed being the police officer because that's what I have been in my former life, right? When I was a young kid coming through the academy at 21 years old, I still enjoy being a police officer, but I also understand what my duties are most of the time is reviewing contracts that we have to, do, memorandums of understanding that come across the desk, reading those, reading each one of those paragraphs, making sure that's the words that we want on the paper. Signing those contracts and those memorandums and making sure that the sheriff's office continues to run. The hiring, the terminations, the retirements, all the different things that come across the sheriff's desk is not the normal. I don't have my radio on 24 hours a day. Okay. I'm not the person that, gets those calls for service. We have over 400,000 calls for service a year. Those happen. They go through our 911 center and they go to the officer out in the street, and only the major calls actually do I get notified of. Okay. I'm not hearing the regular everyday call on the street other than when I'm going back and forth to work and I turn my own radio on, because I do turn my radio on and listen to the calls as I'm going back and forth to work.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sheriff, you agree to come on every other month, and certainly Church Without Wall, we want to educate the public. You coming on here, we appreciate it so much, but we want the community to feel that they are part of the sheriff. I always find you almost like a pastor of a church. When the members love him, they work with you. You ain't gonna never get 100% of the people work with you, but that is our goal for people to get to know you, and certainly you giving them an opportunity by coming. And I think a lot of people don't understand the person's particular job. You know, I remember praying with a council person. People would call him up and ask him something about somebody got shot that have nothing to do, that's, with a council person, state representative job. And a lot of times I know as sheriff, people doesn't understand exactly what all you do. I mean, I don't think that you have nothing to do with code enforcement, but you may get blamed for the mayday, or you may have something to do with it. I know a young lady called me up last week and said, Charles, I got a problem with my neighbor. My neighbor is like cutting my grass. I said, no, when the neighbor cut their grass, the lawnmower she said, well, I have a white automobile. So when you get ready to cut your grass, let me know. I want to move my car to my driveway, because when you cut your grass, the grass blow on my driveway and they get on my car. I have to go to the washroom and wash the green grass off of that. So she said, I called code enforcement. And when I called code enforcement, they told me ain't nothing I can do. So matter of fact, said, if we come out, you going to get a citation still to your neighbor. And say she didn't understand that. So those are the type questions that people, they seem to be small, but they have the potential to be something big. As two neighbors fighting over. You would think if you cutting your grass, you would want to blow it on your neighbor's driveway. And if they nice enough to say, give me an opportunity to move my car, and they still want to do it. So you have those situations where people oftentimes, they call this person. Now, I end up calling 3-4 people for this particular person. Finally, they say, well, you got to call the sheriff and file a complaint. Call the sheriff's office.
Well, most of the stuff comes through the sheriff's office. Now, we try to lead people into the right direction. You know, we cooperate with code enforcement. If someone has an abandoned vehicle in front of their house, they give us a call. We'll go out there and mark it for tag and tows. To let code enforcement go out there and actually tag the vehicle to get it towed at a later date. So we cooperate with them all the time. Okay. It's just about giving us the opportunity to lead you in the right direction.
So, Sheriff, we have to take our first break. You are listening to Church Without Walls in the studio of the New Orleans Talk Network. Our special guest is Honorable Sheriff Joe Lopinto. Got to pay the bill right now. You want to get in on the conversation? 341-8255.
I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. I don't want nobody to give me nothing.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
Well, what's up, everybody? This is boy Coach Hurricane here. You can follow me on Facebook at Henry Singleton or on Twitter at HenryHayoU15.
Listen, this is your boy Fred. Listen, you can follow me on Facebook at Brandon Fred Jones, or you can follow me on Twitter at BFredJones.
This is Jeremiah Gray, man, with G Sports. You can follow me on Facebook, Jeremiah Gray, AKG, and on Twitter, G_paid-in-full-08.
Pay me the money! money.
We're back. Talk What You Know returns on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. We got a brand new co-host by the name of Bob B. And hey, that's me. Also, we got some new features. We're going to be giving away, have a weekly raffle of prizes. There are multiple ways for you to win, and there's a bevy of prizes. So we need you to come on back, join us on Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock for Talk What You Know on the New Orleans Talk Network.
nobody give me nothing. Open up the door. I get myself. I don't want nobody.
Our special guest is Chef Joe Lopinto. We happen to have him with our first show with him. Area code 504-341-8255. And oftentimes you be doing the show, and I guess you can say, Chef Lopinto, the reason why we doing this show is to let people know what the chef, what he do daily. And as we were speaking with the show, we just got a note. Someone have a problem, and he said those type problems happen almost every day, daily. And Chef, how many of those you get a day?
Well, I mean, look, the sheriff's office gets a whole bunch, and it depends on what makes it to my desk. I mean, the sheriff's office never stops. We're a 24-hour-a-day operation that you're going to continue to have problems, right? I mean, we're a big suburban area that crime does exist, although it's a lot less than it's been in the past. It still happens, and you still have over 11,000 uniform crime reports a year that we have to deal with, and we will. We just hope that they stay as low as that they can stay, and hopefully people get to. We know there's a small population that commits crime, and most people that are here are looking to get through their life and their day without any problems, and we hope to make it a little bit better for them.
Well, Chef, certainly crime, from talking to different people in the community, many people, they proud that since you came on to be chef, they is happy because they say they see the policemen most visible in the community now. They kind of, in some areas, they kind of relate you, say, they act like West Wego cop, like now when one cop put up, 2 or 3 of them call you.
It's good to have backup.
Yeah, and that's something, and we are lucky in Jefferson Parish where we still have a lot of people that want to be Jefferson Parish police officers. We don't have a lot of turnover. We had 125 applicants to go into our academy that just started last week. 59 of them went through all the testing procedures that we put in place. I'm sorry, all of them went through the testing procedures. 59 of them passed the testing procedures that we put in place. And we only selected 25 to go through the academy.
Okay, Chef, hate to interrupt you, but I see the blog. We have a caller.
Hello?
Go ahead, caller.
Hi.
Hey, Ms. Landry.
Yes. Hey, Sheriff, I just wanted to call in because the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department is helping me to find my daughter, and she ran away last night, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the police stepping up to try to help me find her, and I wanted to ask if y'all could be sure.
I'm sorry, if we can what?
If y'all can be sure to just keep looking for her because she's disabled, and I'm afraid that she's in danger, and we're searching for her so hard. We're praying, and I just wanted to thank y'all for your help so far.
Not a problem. I think we're posting it up on this website too, the missing person bulletin that we have here. And have you talked to a detective this morning yet?
Not yet, sir. They're transferring her to the missing persons department and the new detective, because she went missing over the weekend.
Okay.
The new detective is supposed to call me.
All right. When we finish this show up at noon, I'll check in on it also and make sure we have somebody give you a call. As with any of these things, obviously it's scary for you, but hopefully and generally speaking, it works out all right with any type of runaway situation or missing person. Normally, the worst case scenario does not come to task, and we have to have a recovery soon, and we hope that's the case for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate all your help.
And we'll give you a call. I'll check on it as soon as we finish the radio station in a little while.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Y'all
right.
have a wonderful day.
You too, Miss Landry.
Okay.
Sheriff, one of the things that I always get from people all the time, they say that the sheriff department don't understand what happened in our neighborhood, and oftentimes I tell them how can you understand if, like, if you don't let him, invite him to come to your neighborhood, how would he know what's going on? I mean, his deputy only go out and he only know what to report to him. That he can't be on Cohen Street and on Division Street,
right?
And at the same time, there's no way for him to know this. So oftentimes, you get blamed for things that you don't even have an idea that happened. And the only way that I think that you would know if the community would invite you, like say, I think they should have more town hall meeting. I remember when I was a little boy, they'd have like PTA meeting at the church. They would invite the sheriff over sometime, or sheriff would send somebody from the department. So you had a relationship with the community, and I think that's what we should go back to. Like I said, the old landmark when the sheriff knew a lot of people by name because he would visit there, not say every week or every month, but at least a couple of times a year he would come through and meet with the people.
And that's what we try to do that. I mean, you think of how big Jefferson Parish is. And we attend every civic association meeting out there. I mean, almost anything any type of event, the sheriff's office is, involved in. Whether it's our detail officers, whether it's the sheriff itself. The truth of it is I'm only one man. Right. I can't make everything, and I try to make a whole bunch of it, but I can't make everything. But we try to have representation there when we can, because we want people to know what we do. Our sheriff's office doesn't have the ability, as you said, to be on every street corner. I don't know what goes on in every neighborhood because we don't have enough officers out there in the street to cover every neighborhood of Jefferson Parish. We're going to be out there, and we all know that we have a very fast response time in Jefferson Parish because we have enough officers out there to be able to respond to the calls when needed. But to tell you that I have the ability to sit someone in every single neighborhood on every single street corner, that's not the case. So our job is to make sure that we have enough personnel out there so when you do call the police, when something happens in your neighborhood that is not right, that we can respond quickly and that we can deal with the problem that's at task that day, whether it's a missing person that we just talked about, or whether it's a shooting, or whether it's someone's family member that just passed away. Whatever the case may be, we try to go out there and handle those problems as we would do any call. Our police officers are trained to go from call to call to call, but those calls have just different orders. You may go on a call that you may be making a traffic stop and recover some drugs or stolen vehicle on one call, but then as soon as you leave that, you go to the death of a family member or death of a 2-year-old or whatever the case may be, right? That they have to handle. And then they've got to at least switch gears and go to something else that's a little bit later on. So we ask people to understand what the role of the sheriff's office is also, because I think a lot of people like to, infer responsibilities that are just not realistic. You've got to know how we do our job.
So, Sheriff, in most of your neighborhood right now, the police officers who are canvassing the area out there at that time right now, do you think it would be meaningful for them to kind of communicate with some of the people in the area, know who they are, certain people or something like that? If you have a community center in Avondale, and on time to time they have civic meetings out there. Maybe the officer could, just go and pass by the center or something like that, or when he's canvassing the area on the street, maybe just speak to some of the people in the area to find out who they are, so that if something happened on that particular street, he would know, well, I did speak with such and such, let me see if I could talk with that particular person, and keep a communication with the community so that if something happened, you have people in that area that you can go to, feel comfortable going to.
And we do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate to tell you this, but I go to civic association meetings all the time. You've got communities that have 1,200 people that live in them, and 15 show up at the civic association meeting, right? I can tell you who those 15 people are. I can tell you who they are, and I can talk to them, and I can ask them any question, right? Society's changed.
Yeah.
You know, I hate I mean, that is the bigger problem that we have. You know, we think about it from ourselves. It's not fair for, you know, if you look at our population as a whole, we have, you know, 400 and something thousand, you know, people in Jefferson Parish, right? You divide that down into districts for 100,000. Think about your own neighborhood. Close your eyes and walk down your street. And tell me how far you have to go before you realize you don't know who your neighbor is.
You're right.
It's not that far. So for the own neighborhood to not know who your neighbors are, how do I expect the police officer to go back there and know everybody?
Right.
They're not. They're not, because whether it's my neighborhood or your neighborhood, it doesn't take long. You all have your association of friends. You know the normal people that you know. But you're not going to know everybody out there, and it's not realistic to have the sheriff's office belief that us riding through a neighborhood, you're going to get to know everybody that belongs back there and not belongs back there, because there's just way too many people. There's way too many people, and not. I mean, if I had enough officers that I say you have just these 2 blocks, that's one thing. But they don't have just those 2 blocks. They have these 2 square miles is their area, you know. We don't patrol by walking the neighborhoods anymore. We have to patrol by police cars because we have to be able to get and be mobile and get places, which is taking, you know, which is good and bad. You know, I mean, you know, it's not the perfect situation, but we can't police like we did in the 70s because the 70s don't exist anymore. So,
Sheriff, what do you think that and since you've been in office, what do you think the improvement that needs to happen in Jefferson Parish? What would it be by law enforcement? Anything that when I say improve Jefferson Parish, quite natural. I noticed some changes that you have made since you have been sheriff. But what are the improvements that you, besides, I know you would love for the community to get more involved, but what improvement that you think should take place?
Well, I mean, you know, part of it's this, you know, having open conversations to let people know what we really do, you know, I mean, because it's just confusion. You know, I mean, I think there's confusion on standpoint of, you know, and I've had these conversations, you know, there are things that I'd like to do, you know, over a period of time. I mean, during this you know, election, we've talked about community policing. I don't want to go back to the same model of community policing that was there 20 years ago because it's just not realistic. But to tell you that we've abandoned that, no, we have not, nor should we. But in order for me to increase that 10 positions, I need to make sure that I free up budget money to be able to increase them by 10 positions. I mean, I don't, you know, the sheriff's office is like any other agency. Yes, I have a big budget. The truth of it is we spend it. We spend it on personnel. We have a lot of officers out there on the street that get paid money in order to do their job. We have a lot of employees that get paid money to do their job. So I don't have the ability to just add 20 people tomorrow. Don't have it. In fact, I've got to cut more positions than I can add right now. You know, now don't get me wrong, the sheriff's office isn't destitute. We've been good stewards of the public money to make sure that we have a fund balance and that we're in decent shape. But in the short term, we're taking in less money than we're spending. Now, that's not something that's going to give us a problem, you know, 2 years from now. But if we continue to go down this path, 5 years from now, I'll have those problems. So I've got to make adjustments, you know, during the short term and during the next couple of years that will balance ourselves out. Is that if I do want to make additional, you know, personnel issues, I can bring people to the table and say this is what I want to do.
In looking at, based upon what you're saying as far as your budget is concerned, do y'all have any ability to implement any type of youth program within the area?
Well, we do. We have youth programs. We do a few different things. The sheriff's office itself operates the Young Marines Youth Program through our office itself, and we also operate the Band of Excellence, which is specifically geared towards individuals that want to play instruments, band instruments, to be able to come through and they get additional training through us. Have the ability to really have the possibility of band scholarships around this country. We've been very proud that we've been able to cultivate a bunch of young men and women to have the skills and talents in in addition to their local band programs at their schools, through the Band of Excellence, to be able to get them scholarships that they probably wouldn't get before. Additionally, we cooperate with the Jefferson Parish Cops and Clergy program. We end up putting some of our money into the Cops and Clergy program to make sure that they can operate youth programs in their own churches, but that are sponsored by the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. You know, and we don't get the credit for it. You know, that you don't necessarily hear as much, but it's a program that we enjoy doing. Now, get me wrong.
Yeah.
Could I use a lot more money? Of course I could, you know, to be able to do so. But we do what we can with what we have.
Yeah, we have a line, a call on line 1, Ms. Spiller. You on with Sheriff Lopinto?
Hey, Ms. Gale.
We do what we can with what we have.
You on the line?
A call on line 1, Ms. Spiller. You on with Sheriff Lopinto?
Caller?
Go ahead on, caller.
Back on hold. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone this morning? You're looking good.
Thank you, Ms. Gale.
You're welcome. I wanted to thank Mr. Stewart and Rev for having Sheriff Lopinto on station this morning. It is clearly a good thing that you are communicating to the public, because there's still a lot of people out there that don't know you and really would like to know you, because you are a good person. And I believe your leadership would prove that. Action speaks louder than words. So far, you have been doing a good job from what a lot of us has been able to see. And I just want to congratulate you, and I look forward in working with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Spiller.
You're quite welcome, sir.
Well, Sheriff, I mean, more comments like those are the kind of comments that I get. And I'm proud that people think that that much of you. We have Sherry on line 2. Call on line 2.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My question to the sheriff is, what are you doing, the sheriff's office, doing for people who get out of prison? And what's available to assist them, if anything?
You know, Ms. Sheriff, we there's a lot of different things that I guess that are out there, but not specifically with the sheriff's office, right? Our department is a little bit unique from the standpoint that we don't house people that are normally coming directly out of prison. We only have about 1,000 beds in Jefferson Parish. We are always on the overcrowding status just because of the population that we have in Jefferson, right? Our arrests are going down, our crime rate is going down, but we still have 1,000 people who are the worst of the worst, that are multiple offenders or violent offenders that are being held in our population of jail. So what happened, where we're a little unique is, once a person is convicted, they go to a state facility. The state facility contracts with some of the smaller sheriffs around the state in order for housing. They pay them a per diem rate and house them at a particular point in time. I don't have the room in Jefferson Parish to be able to house those inmates. So you have more re-entry type programs in other facilities around the state, because those are the people that are going to be being re-entered into the community that are coming back. Where Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, I have the worst of the worst that are generally going to go serve 20 to life in prison, so they're not coming out anytime soon, so there is not a lot of re-entry that I do as a sheriff's office. Now, there are programs that are being developed for people that come from other facilities that are being released back into the community, but those funds are actually being controlled by the Department of Corrections through that Justice Reinvestment Act. So there is opportunities there for some of them to apply with the Department of Corrections to do their own programs, but it's not something the Sheriff's Office necessarily deals with immediately.
Okay, can you explain to me what's a reentry program?
Well, there's all kind of different reentry programs, and they take the shape and size different ways all around the state. Some are run by the sheriff's office. Maybe specifically that, in the last 6 months they give them the opportunity to do work release, where they're actually doing work release programs and going out and having a job within the community, whether it's earning a little extra money to put into their account so that way when they finally release, they have the ability to, get on their feet and not revert back to a life of crime. It has the ability to make sure they get a driver's license or, those type of things before they're released, or an identification card to give them those abilities. We're doing an opportunity coming up next month where they call it a Clean Jacket Day. For people that are looking to get expungements. We're working with the courthouse and the ability to allow people that have certain things on their record that are eligible for expungement to do it all in day, one-stop shop. We're going to do it at we met with Councilman Mark Spear's office the other day and along with a few of the judges in order to make sure that we can, the sheriff's office position is going through and actually running the criminal records, so that way when a person's coming out, if they have the ability to get the charges expunged, to give them the opportunity to go find a job. I mean, let's face it, the more people that have a job, the less are committing crime. So, we'll cooperate with them as much as we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, Jerry. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
So, Lopinto, people who coming out of prison right now who may be able to find a job. The biggest problem that most of them have right now is that they have that record. So how can do you have something in place to work with that individual that looking to get a job and have a job that may be available to him to help him to get into the workforce?
Well, the process of expungement is a multi-step process. The sheriff's office does not expunge a record. Mm-hmm. The court expunges a record. Remember, the police, we are the first step in the process of an arrest. The conviction is done by the DA. The sentencing is done by the judges, right? Mm-hmm. And then the judge is the only person that can actually expunge a record. Mm-hmm. So the process goes in place of this is what you have to do. The clerk of court can actually give somebody the paperwork and it's just fill in the blank. They have to come to the sheriff's office to get their record run, so that way we have an accurate depiction of what it is, and then we end up giving that as part of the court record, and then they end up getting it expunged from there, and then they send that order back to us, and then I'll wipe it clean off of our records. We participate because we're one step of the process, but we're not the only process. And that really depends on the type of crime. Someone that's getting out of jail, generally speaking, you have to have no arrest for a certain period of time before you can get it expunged. So someone that's just coming out of jail may not be eligible for expungement. A few years ago, we did what they called an expungement reform. In fact, I handled it in the legislature that allowed a lot of different crimes to be expunged, so that the way they were not following these people for 20 years, you had the ability to get it expunged off your record after a period of time went through. Mostly, I think most of those crimes were 10 that were added to it.
So expungement doesn't mean that the individual record is wiped clean. It simply means that it's not there.
It is, well, I mean, you've already served your time. The time has been served. Mm-hmm. The difference is when you run a record in our system, where an employer runs a record in the system, it will not show as being a conviction, from there, and won't be there.
Well, Sheriff, one thing that I have found out, I had a brother that he served 20 years, and he got out of jail. He had a job within 3 days, and I asked him, how you able to get jobs? I mean, he go from job to job, making $15 an hour, and he said that when the interview, he told the truth. They asked me, have been to jail. He said, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he said, the lady said, well, I'm going to hire you, so you're very honest. And I think a lot of our young men and women, what have you, that go to jail, I believe when you're honest, people seem to forgive. I mean, one thing I know about people, most people are forgiving, understanding people. And I think that prevention program, and I don't know, say in Jefferson Parish, they may have a program, I don't know. But I do know a lot of our young kids, I think they would do better only if they knew better. See, a lot of times people follow the leader for whatever reason. And when I say a leader, he can be the worst thug in the neighborhood, but if he able to get a crowd of people, other people follow his lead for whatever reason, and that's something I've never been able to understand. Now we have a call on line 1. Go ahead on call on line 1.
Yes, I have a question. What can the church do to help what can the church do to help you do more in the community to prevent the crime?
To prevent crime?
Yes.
Well, I mean, think, like I attend a bunch, church services, right? What can you do? Grab people to be in the church. I hate to say it, but, when you're in church on a Sunday morning, you're looking around, you're not surrounded by a bunch of criminals, right? Mm-hmm. The reality of it is the more people that we can get into a church, the better chance that we have the opportunity that they're not going to be criminals during the week. We have a small percentage that out there and actually commits crime. I wish the church pews were filled every day. If we have the opportunity to fill them on a Sunday, hopefully they can be filled that next Sunday and people are going to do the right thing during the week. Now, different churches take different, actions. Some want to participate in type of reentry programs. I mean, look, it's about being kind to your fellow neighbor. We talk about there's no person out there anymore that hasn't been affected by drugs, whether it's their family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's a friend's family member that, that understands what's out there. People need the ability to have to be able to talk about that, to be able to, have advice of what do we do to try to solve those situations. We're never going to be perfect. We're never going to solve them all. But when you talk about a church, it's getting some people out of their comfort zone and taking the opportunity to use them for what your best ability is, and that may be different for each person. Some are easier to talk about and be able to have communication skills. Some would rather let's organize a little potluck and I'll bring some food and let somebody else do the talking. So a church is about having communication with your fellow neighbors, so that way when the bad things happen, you have a way to get back out of them and get back on track.
And also, caller, it's always think, like when you say, what can the church do? I think number one is the pastor, what he say, most of the congregation listen to him. But anyway, it's also, it's the mother and the father responsibility to educate that child too, to help the pastor out and help the pastor out. So anyway, caller, thank you for your call. And we have a caller now on line 2. Go ahead on line 2.
Hi, I am trying to find out how can women get permits to carry a gun to get properly trained.
Well, you got several. So the main concealed handgun permit process is actually through the state of Louisiana. If you go to if you search Louisiana State Police, concealed handgun permit, you'll be able to pull up the application itself. Then there are numerous trainers that normally train out of, different shooting ranges around here. We don't do that for the sheriff's office itself. You have private trainers that will bring you through the entire class to get trained. So whether, it doesn't make a difference, male or female. You have trainers out there that exist that will get you the proper training, fill out the application, and all you have to do is send it up to the state police, and they'll process it for you. But that's easily accessible through the sheriff. I'm pretty sure through the state police website they also have a list of the appropriate trainers. But if not, you can contact any of the shooting ranges around here, which are in the yellow pages, and they'll give you a list of classes when they're occurring.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you, caller. Sheriff, back to the caller called. The second to the last caller, when she stated that what can the churches do to get involved with crime and help the sheriff out. And I would tell that caller she could ask the pastor maybe once a year, twice a year, have a special program and invite the sheriff over to be the keynote speaker. I mean, it's more to it than getting a sermon on Sunday. Sometimes the sheriff can deliver a wonderful sermon that could curb crime. And I would invite any pastor that he should get. I know if I was a pastor, I would have the sheriff. The sheriff, you want to come over every other month or at least twice a year? Speak to my church. I don't want my kids to get in trouble. You got to educate people to get, and they got to hear it from the old people said from the horse's mouth. And if they hear it come out of the sheriff's mouth, they say, well, Rev doing good, his child not in trouble. But everybody family is affected some kind of way by crime.
Right.
Don't care who you are. Everybody got if not a drug dealer, they got somebody in your family that is guilty of something, and they all commit crime. But how could you stop it? You never got, in my opinion, crime would never stop. But how can you got to cut down on the crime? And I tell people all the time, Sheriff, that we listen to the news, and we see on the news, Sheriff, and this is what makes me angry and upset sometimes. On the news, you see two or three young men do something terrible bad, and they say everybody, but that's just a small percentage. That's just like they say, like if somebody gets shot. They say in Jefferson Parish the crime rate is terrible, but you're only talking about 2-3 people. What about the other 80%, the other 88%?
Right, and the crime is not, and you know, we are just so much more aware of the crime today. You know, as I've said many times, our crime is lower than it's ever been. The difference is we know a lot more about it. You know, in the past, you had a burglary in your neighborhood, or you had 3 burglaries in your neighborhood, you didn't know about it because it never made the news, it never made the newspaper.
Right.
Now you hear about 1 burglary instead of 3, but it's on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. Right. Somebody posted it to a civic association website, whatever the case may be. So now you hear about it and you go, crime's out of control. Well, no, it's not. We're having less crime than we've ever had before, but you still know about it, which is the reason, because you know about it, gives us the ability to solve it quicker a lot of times. You know, it's not a bad thing, but we have to be realistic about what's there.
Well, I think everybody looks at crime and look like, you know, if you're looking at the sheriff department, to say it's the sheriff department job to prevent crime. Sheriff department is there as a legion to help you to do follow-ups on whatever is happening out there and come into the neighborhood. But you have people in the neighborhood who are aware that crimes are happening, but they're not doing anything to give the information to the sheriff department where they can come in and work with that. And so you can't put it all on one organization, because, you know, as you know, Stewart said, it starts at home. It goes to the church. If it gets to the police department and somebody letting you know that there is an area of crime that exists in that area in a certain position in that area, then you can kind of deal with it from that retrospect.
And it's about letting us know.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not always going to solve the problem on the first time. I mean, think about it. You know, you give us information on a particular house, we'll go out there and we end up getting a search warrant, whatever the case may be, make an arrest on someone dealing drugs out of that particular house. Okay, well, we've made the arrest. We don't know when that person's getting out of jail. You know what I mean? You know, so what happens is 2 months later, we're working on other calls. We're working on other calls and other houses and everything else, and that person comes back into the house and is dealing again. We need a secondary phone call to say, hey, the person's back again, you know, and we can go back and don't get it from this. You see, they don't do anything. Look, we've got a whole bunch of problems out there that we've got to go deal with every day. Don't expect us that we know about them. Give us a call and let us know about them, and then we'll see what we can do.
Sheriff, we got a few minutes left to go, but certainly I would like to thank you for coming on the show, and I love the future. This was our first show together, but we're going to come on every other month, and we're going to let the people know what the sheriff's office is all about, and also Dr. William and myself, we're going to make sure that the sheriff know about y'all also. So we want to build a relationship with the community, and they got a lot of fine pastors out there that have churches that is doing a lot of different things, and we want to get with those pastors and talk with them, and I believe that we could help the sheriff out because, like I say, it's a big problem. Everybody have a problem with crime, but it's our duty as when we said church, sheriff, we the church, the people, Dr. William, you and myself. The building they go to on Sunday, that's the church house. That's where you kind of go, like when you fill your car with gas, stop at the gas station, fill your car with gas. That's where you go to the church house on Sunday, you praise God, and you renew your vow to God. But we are the church. We all have a responsibility to love our neighbor and love our community. If we do all that together, Sheriff, we have a great relationship. And certainly, I thank you so much for coming on.
And also, Charles, we want to have the community to know that at this point you have a sheriff who is willing to communicate with you on what's going on in your neighborhood. So we want to petition you to take the opportunity to call. If something is going on in your neighborhood that you need to get straight, call and leave a message or talk to somebody, let them know what's going on in your neighborhood so that you can straighten it out. Based on information that I have and the individual that's sitting here with me right now, I feel that he's a person that will take the time to find out exactly what's going on in that neighborhood. So let's create a relationship with the police department. And we don't want to forget to mention the young lady who called in about the little missing girl.
Yeah, the missing girl. If we can try to help Miss Landry out, see if we can find the daughter, Alexis. I think we're going to put that up on the screen. If anybody sees her or has any information, please don't hesitate, give us a call.
Okay, again, listening audience, we thank you for viewing and also for listening. And as I always said, Church Without Wall, we're here to try to inform the community. And you is to have the answer, you just don't give it to us. The community, you really have the answer. And please call us and give it to us next week. We'll be coming to you 11 to 12, and the sheriff be back with us, I think, in about a couple of months he'll be back on the show. And in the future, I'm going to talk to the studio, and I see this vision. I like to have a town hall meeting. Here at the studio, we have a big facility out there, and the people could call in, and they can see the sheriff, and we just have a good old, I say, the way the churches like have an anniversary, we just have a good old community gathering. They'll get to know Sheriff Lopinto, and he'll get to know us, and everything gonna be all right. As we end the show, I thank to you, Sheriff, again. And we always leave the show by saying, Sheriff, there's no such thing as being half dead. If you dead, you dead.
I don't want nobody.
See y'all next week.
Nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself. I don't want nobody. Give me nothing. Open up the door. I'll get it myself.
Our listeners are as important as our guests. Join in on the conversation. 504-341-8255, the New Orleans Talk Network.